Hello. Welcome to our beautiful nation's capital and the homeland of the Piscataway Indian Nation, the Piscataway Conoy tribe, and affiliated tribes of the Potomac River, which is right behind you, the Anacostia River, and our Chesapeake Bay. Our people have been here and for many, many, many moons. And as you see behind you, that's the Capitol. That once was a site where we held many meetings. The ground behind you, which is the monument, that both the monument and the Capitol were made from sandstone that were carried by our indigenous people. I welcome all of you from all over the four directions, the Totem Pole, the Alliance, everyone that came. I'm trying to make this short and quick, but welcome and God bless every one of you. And if you have any questions after the event, I can explain more about our history, or you can find more about it in the National Museum of the Native American, where my father's photos are displayed on the second floor. Thank you.
Good afternoon. In addition to the Piscataway people whose lands we are on, there are also many, many Native people transplanted to the Washington, D.C. area. In fact, there are 127 area agencies and organizations that deal in American Indian issues as well as have Native employees. And so, as one of these people, we've been asked to sing an honor song, which is a protocol among Native people. Percussion transcends cultural and tribal boundaries. As this totem pole began its journey from the House of Tears in the Lummi tribe, right close to Seattle, Washington, and the Canadian border, drums were sounded. Drums across America. It made many stops, and you could hear these drums. In the honor of this totem pole, my father's going to sing a song, an honor song. The words in this song says, "I am happy that I'm still able to hear the drums. They make my heart feel good." And this is an honor song for this totem pole coming to the Washington, D.C. area. Can I please have everybody stand? Yo, 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 hey, thoughts on the protocol, no, on tando, yo, no, on tando, yo, hey, thoughts on the protocol, no, on tando, yo, no, on tando, yo, hey, yo, 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 hey, thoughts on the protocol, no, on tando, yo, no, on tando, yo, hey, thoughts on the protocol, no, on tando, yo, no, on tando, yo, The song was rendered by Mr. Ralph Zotai, a full-blooded Kiowa Indian. In our language, we say, "Amhebe," welcome.
Piven Sitawust, Maheo Nanako Natsisave, Lance Fisher Nahishave. Good afternoon, my name is Lance Fisher. I am from the Northern Cheyenne Tribe, and this is Shivani Rose.
Hello, Hamatakipi, Javana Machapi, Olehemacha. I am from the Oglala Sioux tribe as well as the Northern Peruvian Nation. And
Julie. We're going to perform the Big Mountain Song. It's composed by Howard Badhand, and the translation is Presidents, look at me, this is I standing here. I defend Grandmother Earth, and I live seeking peace. Just two times. Yashman, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. We always start in a good way by acknowledging not only the history, but the presence of our tribal nations. We can be of our communities. So we are so glad that they were able to join us. I just want to say that welcoming you on behalf of the organizers, Cecilia, Natives, the Natural History Museum, and many other partner organizations who helped to make it possible to bring this totem across the country to visit sites virtually and physically. I want to recognize as to my right, your left, House of Tears Carvers, who will a bit, but what the power of this totem pole is that it's brought together people from Snake River, from Chaco Canyon, from Line 5 in northern Minnesota, all the tribes in northern Minnesota, Bristol Bay, the Sault Ste. Marie tribes who are working to stop the Line 5 pipeline from desiccating their sacred waters. The Arctic, Bristol Bay, it has brought so many nations together. There are too many sacred places to name. All of those sacred places deserve to be protected. We are all speaking in one voice for sacred places now. Our sacred places are part of the beautiful lands and waterways and oceans that we live with and among. All who farm, who fish, who hunt and hike must join tribal nations and communities to prevent the destruction of Mother Earth. We are building a politically empowered movement that will show not only Are we ready with solutions? But we will also show that we are strong because of our traditional culture and our traditional ways of caring for Mother Earth. Today, you are tribal elected officials, traditional leaders, and grassroots community organizers. Those are the three elements of being able to build a politically empowered movement that can protect not only sacred places, but also achieve tribal. There are many people who've gathered here to honor the House of Tears Carvers from the Lummi Nation, to honor the prayers and hopes that this totem pole has brought to DC, and to speak with the Biden administration and Congress. But we are here because it is the time to end climate crisis, to end the policies dictated by the extractive fossil fuel industries. There are many people who are in the audience. I wish I could recognize all but I would like to welcome former Secretary of the Interior. We also have Congressman from Hawaii. Thank you for coming. Thank you for standing. And now I'd like to introduce Doug James, House of Tears. So we have to change things a little bit, Doug. Now we will hear from Chairwoman, shouldn't be using high tech. Chairwoman Brenda Mallory, who is the chairwoman of the council. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, my iPad just shut off. 21st Century Indian Problems. The chair of the Council on Environmental Quality. I knew it was going to get wrong. I told you.
Hello, everyone. With this about whether it was the Council on Environmental Quality or the Council on Equality. Anyway, it's such a pleasure to be here today and to be invited to join in on this event. I just want to thank everyone, both for your journey and the years of advocacy and for leading the way on issues that are so important to this nation and to this. I'm grateful for the work that you all do and have done. It's an honor to be in your presence as we gather ancestral homes of the Anacostan and Piscataway people. One of my favorite quotes many speeches I give, is one that is purported to be a Native American proverb that reads, "We do not inherit the earth. We do not inherit the land's ancestors. We borrow it." In my mind, your journey across the country and the message it delivers, recognizing sacred value places and preserving them for all people, for future generations, captures the meaning of that's behind that proverb, and is so inspiring to me. It's also connected to the work that we're trying to do in this administration. There is a deep commitment to achieve our common goal of protecting lands, water, and air for generations to come. Will only be successful if we actively engage local, state, Indigenous communities, and a range of other stakeholders. I know you have long been at the forefront of this work together must be one partnership. Historic wrongs will require a long-term commitment, but acknowledging a need for change and creating a plan of action is a critical first step. It's a step that we are trying to make at this moment. The first ever White House Environmental Justice Advisory Council, which is made up of 26 longtime environmental justice and experts from all across the country. The council has devoted countless hours developing recommendations to support the federal efforts to address current historic environmental injustices, including issues that are related to tribal and indigenous communities. My team at CEQ is working with every single agency on an initiative called Justice 40, which is a whole of government effort to deliver 40% of the overall benefits from federal investments in climate and clean energy to disadvantaged communities. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but together we can get it done. Thank you for the work that you're doing every day, and thank you for inviting me to join you this afternoon. I am so sorry that I'm unable to stay for further parts of the program, but I can tell already that there is great energy here, and I'm grateful to have been here for a moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And my next introduction to you will be very good. Now I'd like to bring to the stage the House of Tears Carvers. Doug James, a carver who's been working for over 20 years on totem poles such as this. He will be speaking on behalf of the master carver, Jewel James, who is in our prayers because he could not be with us today because of health issues. I have been working with Doug and the House of Tears over these last several months, and it's been an honor and an inspiration to be a part of this journey.
Have Melanie and Duran come up too.
Melanie and Duran, would you please come up? First of all, I'd like to give the credit and glory back to our Creator. The pole itself speaks for itself because it's been reaching out and touching many hearts since April. We've been on the road all the way down the West Coast, and we crossed over, cleaned to Miami, and then went back home and then turned around again. But it's in recognition, touch down and touch the hearts and souls and spirits. This is our House of Tears Carvers. This is our youngest carver right here, Caden. And he's been learning as we go. So he's been doing a great job. He says, I painted the bottom. So and his mother, Heather, here. See, my wife, Siamawit. So, Cub. What's your name? Teresa Sheldon.
Melanie is coming up.
Melanie is one that does all the painting over here for the last, the murals. You know, if you got anything you want to add to it, go ahead. But anyway, just want to roll along here, and I want to put my hands up to the Hawaiians that are here, to each and every one of you that's taken a breath of time out of your lives to be here today. For those that are stepping up and offering your prayerful songs, our hands are out to you and saying, Haishka, thanking you for honoring this day, because this day is not ours. It belongs to all of us. Each and every one of you that had a tugging on your heart to be here today, this day belongs to you. And I want to thank our secretary, Deb Haaland. My hands are out to her for all she's been doing. You know, and the list can go on, but we don't want to tarry here too long. But, you know, I just want to say Haishka from the Lummi Nation. You know, this is our 20th year that we brought poles across this country. We brought them clean as far away as 100 miles north of Winnipeg. Every one of these are gifts We never charged anybody for any of them. We raised all our own funding to get them to where they needed to go, just to lift up the people that are crying out for help. And our world, our countries are crying out for help, because of the climate change, because of the salmon are dying, the orcas are losing all their food, for those that don't have voices. That's who we're reaching out to. And we're just asking each and every one of you to come together with one heart and one mind. Ait swallowing. Ait swallowing means to be of one heart and one mind. So with that, I just want to say Haishka and Stella Chasi to all my relations. Osiam. Haishka.
We love you. Okay.
Come on, Kaden. Does Kaden want to sing?
Thank you so much, Doug and House of Tears, for giving us this opportunity to speak in one voice, one mind. Our next speaker is Paui Rivera. He is I'm going to let him introduce himself because my iPad has stopped again.
Umbiakanti, na kwansire Paui Rivera Ginokawe, Potuaga Winge Yoweri Omu, Tsengitei. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paui Rivera. I'm from the Pueblo of Poake in New Mexico. New Mexicans in the house? I serve as Senior Advisor and Tribal Affairs Director in our White House Intergovernmental Affairs Office. So thank you so much. I'm honored to stand on the mall today with tribal and community leaders from across Indian country. The White House Council on Environmental Quality Director Brenda Mallory, who you heard from minutes ago, and obviously Secretary Haaland, who's speaking shortly here. So thank you so much for having us. And thank you to the Red Road to DC organizers, Native American Organizers Alliance, Tsetile, the National History Museum, and Illuminative. And I want to honor and thank the House of Tears Carvers for their vision and this beautiful totem pole that's before us here today. And the many blessings and prayers and the messages from across Indian country about the importance of sacred places, lands, and waters. And thank you to Master Carver Jewel James. We send our best wishes to him for a speedy recovery, health, and I want to thank his brother Doug James and his wife, Sialmawet, for their beautiful, beautiful work and for making this journey to bring their magnificent totem pole across the country. President Biden remains strongly committed to strengthening the nation-to-nation relationship and advancing tribal sovereignty. In March, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan that delivered $31.2 billion to tribal communities, the largest single payment ever to Indian country. Those critical investments have supported COVID response in tribal communities, the largest child tax credit for families, native language revitalization, direct financial support, and much more. And the new bipartisan infrastructure bill introduced in Congress yesterday will invest critically needed resources in Indian country for roads, bridges, and make the largest investment in clean drinking water and wastewater infrastructure in American history. President Biden is committed, as you are, to achieving ambitious environmental justice goals. Just last week, the Biden-Harris administration issued Justice 40, a whole-of-government effort to ensure that federal agencies work with tribes, state, local communities to deliver at least 40% of the overall benefits from the federal investments in climate and clean energy to historically underrepresented communities, including tribal nations. And the America the Beautiful initiative outlines a core set of principles that will restore 30% of our lands and waters by 2030. Tribal nations will be key partners in these conservation efforts that will create jobs and support healthy communities. America's lands, waters, and resources are precious, and as America's first people, Indigenous communities know this best. Ensuring that they're here for generations to come is one of the most important duties. So on behalf of the White House, we thank the Lummi Carvers, the Red Road to DC organizers, and all the supporters for bringing this beautiful, incredible totem pole and powerful message about the importance of protecting sacred sites to our nation's capital. Kuntawoha.
We hope that all of you, before you leave the mall, will spend a few minutes and pray with the totem. Your prayers and your hopes and your dreams that have been collected in this with the travels of this totem pole. You know, on election night 2018, our hearts were so full when we heard the news that Congresswoman Sharice Davids and Congresswoman Deb Haaland were elected to Congress after hundreds of years, the first two Indians to be elected to Congress. Her life's work, the way that she walks, is inspiring Indian young women across the country to say, we need to be there. We need to be a part of being out what the future will be for our descendants. And as we watch then Congresswoman Deb Haaland before the Senate committee during the hearing, it was a whole school on how and why Indigenous perspectives must be a part of governance. We must say thank you, we love you, and we are so glad that Madam Secretary is here with us to welcome this totem pole.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here and to see all of you. And welcome to Washington, D.C. for those of you who don't live here necessarily. And I just saw that my good friend, Congressman Kai Kahele, with the Hawaiian members of the Hawaiian Native community. And I'm happy to see you, dear friend. Thank you for being here. It's very nice. Thank you for that kind introduction. I'm so happy, and thank you for your years of advocacy and hard work to bring attention to Indigenous communities in the most meaningful ways. Guwatsi haupa. Greetings, everyone. It means so much to be here with all of you and to recognize the incredible journey you all have taken. I'm honored to be joined by the chair of the Council on Environmental Quality, Brenda Mallory, and I thank Brenda for acknowledging that we are on Indigenous land. I want to acknowledge the organizers of this event, House of Tears Carvers, the Natural History Museum, Native Organizers Alliance, Illuminative, CC for everything you do and have done and will continue to do. All of your hard work has led to this moment, to this spot. The fact that you're all here is not insignificant. When our nation's capital was established, its policies were intended to exclude us, to assimilate us. Laws and policies were written without considering Indigenous communities' challenges or their strengths. And we're working hard to undo so many consequences of these actions. Today and every day, we break barriers to those institutions and systems that were to keep us out. Our paths are crossing in this moment because we're coming there in a new era. an era of truth, of healing, of growth, and in which our Indigenous valued and respected, in which Indigenous leadership has a seat at the table to make decisions about our community, in which we have an opportunity to rise above the challenge our people face and build a brighter future for all. It's a new era in which our country recognizes dark pages of our history, listens and learns so that we can all be a part of meaningful tribal engagement to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice. Your journey, like the wind, the birds, the water, carried the prayers of everyone who has laid hands on this totem pole. It is a heavy load to carry because we know that all of our actions inform our future. And I have hope because it's ingrained in who we are as people. It's the same hope my Pueblo ancestors had when they survived famine and drought, when they sailed along the Rio Grande, cultivated crops, and preserved our culture and traditions through the hardest of times. The attempts to take away our traditions, our languages, and our cultures failed because we are still here. It's the same hope that brings all together for our people, for our communities, for our earth. Every time I visit a protected sacred site, it gives me hope knowing all of us are working to honor these important places. All of you give me hope. As we move forward in this new era, we do so with the support and respect of President Biden and Vice President Harris. And their commitment to live up to the federal government's trust and treaty responsibilities. We do so knowing that when we work together, we can realize our vision to ensure a brighter future for our children and our children's children. All of the speakers on the stage, the artists who use their generations of traditional craftsmanship to carve this beautiful totem pole, and the folks who used their time and energy to make possible others. I'm honored to serve as your Secretary of the Interior and to be with you at the culmination of this journey. That this is a beautiful step in our much longer march toward justice. My thoughts are with you as we continue our work together, as we raise awareness, as we seek a brighter future for all of us. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm so happy to see every single one of you. Thank you.
That's our Secretary of the Interior. Our work, the work that we're doing to protect places, we're creating the space for her to do what's right. Our organizing, our prayers. And now I want to call on the Congress of the American Indians President Fawn Schaap. Fawn has been leading the way and helping people understand why informed consent must be the way forward.
Elk Yohach Anjak Hiwishka Chikhatsi. On behalf of the National Congress of American Indians, representing more than 574 tribal nations all across this country, we honor you. the House of Tears Carvers, every hand that touched this totem. You know, years ago, a seed was planted, a seed drifted in the wind, landed in the soil decades ago. And that seed became a tree. And that tree is what is before us today. And years ago, a dream was born, a vision for the House of Tears and the Carvers. And years ago, every one of us were born with dreams, with hope, and a vision. And as my elders said before, who took the stage, we are all here united. We were all called to this day to be here, to uphold the Carvers and honor this tradition, to call out to everyone that we must protect sacred sites. On behalf of NCAI, we answer that call to action, and we stand firmly with every tribal nation across this country. And it's appropriate that we are here on the mall between the Lincoln Memorial and the United States Capitol. Long before there was a country, the Creator called our ancestors to these sacred lands. Long before there was a Congress, long before there was a state, long before there was a District of Columbia, these were sacred lands that our Almighty Creator called each and every one of us to. And while we have ceded millions of acres of precious land across the country by treaty, we've never relinquished that spiritual connection that we share with our Almighty Creator, with each other, and with our sacred sites. We know as Native people, through the generations of teachings, it is our duty to ensure that sacred sites are protected not only for our generation, but all those generations that will follow. We understand and recognize that in this very moment that is being threatened, we understand in this very moment on this hill, on both sides of Capitol Hill, behind doors, in rooms of negotiating, there's a powerful force in this country that is seeking to exploit for profit our sacred sites. But like all those generations that have gone before us, we know you cannot put a price tag on our sacred sites. We've known our sacred sites are not to be negotiated. We know our sacred sites have a value, an incalculable value that is necessary for all of us and every generation to follow. And so as we stand here together, I want each and every one of you to think about your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your elders, all those that have gone before you. Think about your grandparents who may have survived a 1918 pandemic. Think about your parents who may have survived civil rights conflicts in the 60s and 70s and felt like they could not walk into public buildings. Think about all of those struggles of those that have gone before us, generation after generation. And while they faced those conflicts, they became stronger generation after generation. And we are that generation to inherit that multi-generational wisdom, that multi-generational strength. And our Almighty Creator has called our generation to stand tall, to protect our sacred sites, to stand tall here in the Capitol on our inherent powers, on our treaties, on our sovereignty, to say we will not be exploited, our sovereignty will be respected, and we have a duty all across this country and globally for all Indigenous peoples, because there are Indigenous peoples in this moment who are risking life and death to speak out. For the Amazon, life and death to speak out, to protect that which is sacred. And it is up to us to hold the most powerful country on the planet accountable to protect our sacred sites. And as we do that here in the United States, We will uphold this country, lead this country to protect sacred sites all over the world. That is our duty. That is our charge. That is our calling. On behalf of the National Congress of American Indians, we stand firm in that mission. We honorably accept that mission that is represented by this totem, and we will support and honor our sacred sites. Siokwel Chikatsi.
Thank you, Fawn. Now we are going to have speed dating. You are going to hear from every single community group, Native community group, and tribal leader who have come and have been a part of this journey, but not to worry. 2 minutes each. They're going to get to the point if the Creator has a plan. The first of the speed dating will start Daniel So, the Navajo Tribal Councilman from Counselor Chapter.
Wela! Oh, yat a. Sikado sidane. Tenjikin slow. Nanish as a trachini. Bashishin. Hashlisni das a che. Nahabani das anale. With that, I creep. Acknowledge Mother Earth, Father Sky, the constellations that form the universe. We are in between those powers. And yes, our lands are being basically empowered us to say, do something, stand up, say something. And that's what we're doing today. We are standing to stop oil and gas extraction. We are the anti-frackers. And we're using the aspect of the connectedness, the land, the air, the water, the sacred. We have our own LAWS. We have our own laws that govern how we maintain the stewardship of these sacred elements. And thank you, everyone. Wow. We did a water ceremony at Counselor Chapter. That's where the tsunami of fracking is occurring. And we have to focus. Yes, health impact assessment, but our relative says, no, let's look at it through Navajo lens. We are connected to the land, the air, the water, and the sacred. What do you feel about it? And the community says, that's our issues. And they're the ones that empowered us to be here. We had a water ceremony and folks were blessed. Guess what? The rains came. The rivers will flow. The grass will grow. The treaties have to be enforced, adhered to, and abided by. That's what we ultimately are looking at. Yes, 574 tribal nations. Each of us have a perspective on how tribal consultation shall move forward. Not consultation. That's a piece of paper that says, what do you think about it? Do you approve? No. Collaboration. We want collaboration, not a path to consent. And that's the part that we have to understand. We have our own views. We have our own LAWS. Understand, yes, the Greater Chaco landscape extends far beyond the lines on a map, far beyond the state boundaries. And our forefathers, our Saza, our ancestors, they already knew it. Those sacred places, sacred spaces have power, energy, and they have the aspect to touch us on the shoulder, to wake us up from our sleep. Stand up, speak for the people. And so today we're speaking for the people, the water, the air, and the sacred spaces. And the young, the unborn, and the elderly. For us, of us, our job is to protect these segments of our population. Thank you for allowing me to basically impart some thoughts, and to Madam Secretary, we appreciate her work. We appreciate what the Biden administration is doing. We have a voice, and we have to be vocal. Our group imparts legislation, our group imparts regulatory changes, and that's what's unique about the Greater Chaco Coalition. In other words, frack off Chaco. Thank you.
Ani Nishnivi Equa Indigenous. My name is Second Water Woman. My English name is Great Grandmother Mines. I reside from Canada and Minnesota. We have been on a healing journey throughout Turtle Island. We originated from the center of the land called Minnesota. We are transplants from the east prior to the colonization and reside in Dakota territories in the northern part of the state. We are Anishinaabes, First Nation Ojibwe. We come from Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe. We have made the journey hence to California to the reservations, the western border of their state, Lone Pine and Bishop reservations, to take part in ceremonies with the Dene prayer runners that ran 215 miles for the Canadian children that were recently discovered, and the 8 that were returned home to the Dakotas, and the many other children for the government boarding schools that patiently await to be found and to be returned to their grandparents' homelands. We traveled to the south through Navajo and Hopi lands and upward through the center Turtle Island in prayer for the lands, people, air, and water. We rested back in Minnesota and got ready to come east to be with the totem and all that resides within her, because we see her as a feminine. There is something I would like to read to you from my fellow water protectors across Turtle Island. This particularly comes because it stands in our territory, line 3. We are grateful to you and your commitment to Indian people and Mother Earth. We also acknowledge the complexity of your position. This, I'm speaking to Deb Haaland. We're asking you to suspend the construction of line 3 until a full assessment of endangered species, cultural reasons, and water can be undertaken. This pipeline violates the trust, responsibility that the United States has to American Indian people, causing widespread destruction of treaty resources like wild rice and poisoning of waters full of fish and life. This project had an inadequate review of endangered or threatened species, and there was not an adequate cultural resource review for this project. This June, Enbridge received the largest water allocation in the history of Minnesota. We're from the land of 10,000 lakes. Can you imagine? The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources approved a permit to Enbridge for 630 million gallons and allowed the company to amend that to 5 billion gallons, a tenfold increase over what was reviewed in the environmental impact statement. This 5 billion gallons of water allocation occurred without an environmental review and in a time of the deepest drought in our recent history. The tribes were denied information and asked to review the project 2 weeks before the permit was issued. Not only are tribal nations concerned, but 32 of our state legislators in Minnesota wrote a July 27th letter to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency asking the agency temporarily suspend the Section 401 certification and order Enbridge to immediately halt all drilling along the Line 3 route until the state is no longer experiencing drought conditions, until a thorough investigation can be completed by your agency into the fracking accidents. This Canadian corporation is destroying the Great Lakes in our world. In time that we're trying to address climate change, this corporation will bring 3 times more oil than it did before to our land, tripling carbon emissions. We're asking you here in this land, this capital, the White House, Biden administration, come on, guys, this is for the people. This ain't just an Indian thing. This is for all people. This planet here is made up of water, but most of the water that we have here is very limited for us human beings to survive. We want you to wake up because this is in the heart of our land. So we're asking you to suspend the construction of Line 3 and to protect our future generations. Now, myself and you see we're the top hat long skirt society. We're Madewans. We're in this leg here to be with the Totem and the Carvers and all our relatives and all our relative allies. We're going to return paying our respect to deliver that last bundle to the Carlisle boarding school and to put our prayers down. So I want to say, miigwech to these Carvers for the east that they came from. I never thought I'd see this day. You see, I'm from that boarding school era. I have a brother that never came home. I had a sister that was murdered. So everything, those prayers within this totem, and Deb Haaland, our people, and for all the people that put this together, our cloak has fallen and the red nations has rised up. Let the prophecies unfold. Miigwech.
Hamadakiapi, Hochokaluta wi machiapi, Hogon wi Nola taken live imachiapi. Good afternoon, my friends and relatives. My name is Nola Taken Alive, and I serve on the tribal council from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. And I know we have 2 minutes, and we have several elders standing behind me who want to message as well. But I want to thank Deb Haaland, our relative, and I want to remind her to continue to be fierce, continue to stand up, not only for Indigenous people, but for all of us around the world. Because in 2016, young people started a ripple effect, sparked and woke up the world to the injustices that are happening, not only amongst our Indigenous people, but the injustices that are happening to our relatives, the water, the earth, Mother Earth. And I want us to continue to remember that spark and remember that ripple effect that all of us have. And right now, we still have the DAPL pipeline that is running through, illegally running oil through our relative, the water, Mini Wichoni. And I want to thank all of you, every single one of you who are standing up for all of the injustices, because in our Lakota way, we say Midakuye Iwase, which means all of our relatives. That doesn't matter the color of who you are, where you come from, but it's about being in unison, unifying. And this is what this totem pole, when it came to Standing Rock last week, it was a reminder to all of us to unify so that we will have a beautiful life for generations to come. So with that, I want to say, Lila Wopila Tonka, on behalf of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and on behalf of the future generations and the young people, Mini Wichoni, water is life, and it will still and always be Mini Wichoni. Lila Wopila Tachetu Medakio Awase.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Mason. I'm the Vice Chairman for the Shoshone-Paiute Tribes of the Duck Valley Indian Reservation. We were blessed by the Lummies that came by during our 4th of July celebration, and they spent a couple days in the valley, and we appreciate it. Thank you. So I represent one of the 27 tribes in the state of Nevada: the Northern Paiute, the Western Shoshone, the Southern Paiute, and the Washoe tribes. Where the mining industry has bullied, with the assistance of the federal agencies, to extract ore on an unprecedented manner. If Nevada was its own country, it'd be the 4th largest producing country in the world. And we watch it every day. Right now, there's as we are speaking, it is in federal court right now on trying to get a stay with Thacker Pass, with the Northern Paiute tribe from Fort McDermott. The Western Shoshone have been fighting for the sacred site of Mount Tanabo since 2002. It was not halted. Tribes have been the most persecuted peoples in these United States. All the social injustices that we have suffered, yet still we are here, and yet still we survive. We are the true protectors of the land, the water, all life, plants, pine nuts, sweetgrass, dosa harvest areas. In Nevada, the land is referred to as Nua Sogobia, our land. In 1863, the tribe signed the Treaty of Ruby Valley in 1863. It was promptly broken in 1864 and has never been enforced since. So earlier this year, I testified in the Nevada State Legislation at the last day of legislative body trying to address the Nevada mining tax and was not successful. They all agreed with what I said, but they said I was too late. And so we have to try again. We've been trying ever since 1960s to curtail mining. So we're going to ask Congress, senators, the secretary to assist us with consultation and consent is a major, major issue. Consultation does not happen in Nevada. They send you a letter, they certify it, reply back, they count that as consultation. The 9th District Court has already determined that that is not consultation, but yet they keep mining. So we are going to ask for assistance for everybody on the assisting of this mining, the mining that's been going on forever. So after we were given citizenship on our own land, Native Americans have fought for this country in all instances, in World War II, Vietnam, Somalia, the War on Terror. So the people that sit in that office behind me, I say to them, we fought for you. Now you fight for us. Thank you.
Ani, everyone. Giwede Nagabo Kwe Indishnakas, Ganushnakani Ndonjaba. My name is the woman who stands in the north, and I stand before you today to represent the waters of the Great Lakes, the territory of our Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi. When we look at the Great Lakes and we think of water, as many of my relatives have spoken before me on DAPL, on Line 5, our people understand that water is sacred because in the line of creation, the Creator created man last because we are the most important, but because we are the least important. We rely on the land, on the water, on our animal relatives in order to survive. Bay Mills Indian community and several other tribal nations in the state of Michigan are currently fighting Enbridge Line 5 runs through the Great Lakes, that runs through our ceded territory. Those black snakes that are harming our lands, our waters, our ecosystems. Enbridge Line 5 is a dual pipeline that carries crude oil and natural gas through 13 million acres of water and 14 million acres of land. Land that my tribal nation ceded to the United States in a sacred promise. It was an exchange to create the state of Michigan. And in exchange, our people were promised the right to fish, hunt, and gather in that ceded territory. And my ancestors knew that that was a sacred promise because with those rights, we would be able to continue to thrive as a people. We would be able to live out our traditional lifeways. We would be able to maintain our culture, our sacred places, our sacred grounds, understanding that water is sacred. Just as we rely on water for our livelihoods, we also understand in our teachings that as women, as water protectors, as water carriers, that we rely on water to give birth to those next 7 generations. Enbridge Line 5 has spilled more than 1.1 million gallons of oil and natural gas in the state of Michigan since it was implemented. And although we have very thankfully not seen an oil spill in the Straits of Mackinac, it's only a matter of time before it ruptures, it leaks, and it causes irreversible harm in the Great Lakes in our heart of Turtle Island. How can we look at our children in those next 7 generations and say we allowed this to happen, that we destroyed the largest freshwater body resource in the United States, that we destroyed that heart of Turtle Island for profit? We have a teaching that says the decisions you make today should take into consideration those next 7 generations. And that teaching reminds us that what we do today has impacts long after we are gone. Do we want to teach our children that we care more about profits than we do about leaving them a sustainable world? Do we want to teach our children that this is how we respect the land, that this is how we respect the water? We should be teaching our children that things like Line 5, like the black snake, like the harm to our sacred places are not okay. And it's incumbent upon this administration, the United States of America, our state and federal representatives to also honor those treaties. When we think of treaties like the 1836 Treaty of Washington that my tribe signed, many people see them as a thing of the past, but they are living exchanges. It's not just a treaty for my tribe, it's a treaty for the United States. You receive something in exchange. The state of Michigan still exists. And because of that, you need to protect our treaty rights, our treaty resources in the Great Lakes. So with that, I ask all of you to say with me, water is a treaty right. Water is a treaty right. Miigwech.
Lolma, go quiet. My name is Clark Tanakuva. I am the Vice Chairman for the Hopi Nation out from the state of Arizona. It is wonderful to be here today amongst all my brothers and sisters that have gathered here on our sacred lands. We cannot say these were once sacred lands. They are still sacred. As I say, each and every one of us have stepped foot here at one time or another. We have a place on this land. I am currently, as the vice chair, co-chair with the Bear Zero Coalition, which was formed as a commission by the President Barack Obama back in 2016. We represent what is called Bears Ears in southern Utah to protect it as a national monument. Behind me stand some of the great leaders from some of the nations that we represent. From the Ute Nation, we have Chairman Hart. From the Navajo Nation, we have Hank Stevens, representing the Navajo Nation. We are a coalition of 5 tribes that are fighting currently to restore the proclamation that President Barack Obama instilled back in 2016. Another one of the broken treaties that America seems to continue to walk upon us Native people here in the United States of America. It was short-lived by the man named called Donald R. Trump. Donald R. Trump went and undid the proclamation of 1.3 million acres to less than 85% of what the president had proclaimed as a national monument. So today, we stand here before you, President Biden, Vice President Harris. You were part of that administration back in 2016. We ask you to do what is right. Do your homework. Make sure that it's proclaimed back as a national monument. We all have ancestral ties to that place. They're called Bears Ears today. We have ties to the Greater Chaco region. Let's keep it the way it should be. They are sacred lands, people. Lands are not for sale. If my shrine as a kiva that stands there in southern Utah represents that big white house behind me, symbolizes something that is important to America, well, I hope they respect the same way as I do the kivas and some of the dwellings that are still left there in southern Utah. Let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are in a severe drought in the Southwest. I don't know what it's going to take for people to learn water is life. Without water, you are nothing. You are only a piece of material. You cannot survive anywhere in this world. Water is not for sale. Oil is not for sale. Land is not for sale unless it goes through us, the tribal nations, with proper authorizations and so forth. So I thank you all for giving us this time, for speaking on behalf of Bears Ears. I hope you help stand with us to go forth with it as far as what we are here today. We had the totem pole there 2 weeks ago, gave it our blessings, gave it our hopes, to give our message here today that we are united as one, as the young totem pole there tells our story of the American history, tells about the Secretary Haaland as who she is represented on that totem pole. So we love you all. We thank you all. May we live in peace. May we live in harmony. May we live in humility, that we shall progress from this point on and be recognized just like any other race or culture that's occupying our land today. Native American lives matter also too today. It's not only Black Lives Matter, it's not only the Asian Lives Matter. We are the true First Americans. And I thank you here for giving us the 2 minutes to speak. Please protect Bears Ears. Kwakwai.
Ohami Takiapi, Upiakid, Yushka, Chante, Chiuzapi, Tonka Inajiwi, Hemieksto. My name is Faith Spotted Eagle, Standing Stone from the Oyate of the Dakota Nation and the Ocheti Shakoi on the Missouri River. I came here after a 13-year fight against the KXL pipeline. If you raise your hand if you sent prayers for that victory. Woo! That was an example of an amazing, amazing organizational effort that took 13 years of an unlikely alliance of people like you that came together. We can do these things and they're magic. They don't happen overnight. This fight is generational. When I came earlier this morning, I was sitting over there and this little girl from the Cherokee Nation, where are those grandmothers? She came up to me and she's 3 years old and she's got a cape on her back that says water is sacred. 3 years old, and she came up to me and she went like this. That's the kind of generational commitment that we have to make. I came here 50 years ago. Secretly, I'm 100 years old. And I spoke and developed testimony for the Indian Self-Determination Act in 1975. That was a game changer 50 years ago. We're here once again, and we heard one of our matrilineal leaders talk about a game changer, but she cannot do it on her own. We have to have those powerful organizing efforts that brought this beautiful relative that carries all these prayers. It takes commitment, hard work, it takes resources, and most importantly, it takes prayers. We saw that magic along the Missouri River. The other thing is reform of violent hierarchical structures. Just because these executive orders on social justice have come out in the Biden administration, the people that were there before those executive orders, they're still there. What's going to make them change? They will act quieter, they will act more compliant, but change will not occur unless we hold them accountable. And that comes with free, prior, and informed consent. Consultation is a dominance word. It means that you've already agreed, and they're only petting us on the head. We have to have pre-decisional as early as possible. We have to get our people out on the land, do countless surveys to identify those sites, document them, GIS them, our bioregions before the industry shows up. We are remiss in that. We need to get with it. We can do that through citizen science, train our young people. They do not have to have doctoral degrees to do that. All we need to do is care, to teach, to teamwork, and remember not to pull each other down. This work is not about jealousy, it's about support and courage. Co-management. We are the original scientists. We knew about managing water. We knew about managing plants. We continue to do that. We managed fire. At this point, more of us together in a very organized, best method of all to ask for co-management of these areas. Our tribe, the Ihangton, the Yankton Sioux, are putting in an effort to manage a lake that was managed by U.S. Fish and Wildlife that has literally destroyed our communities of mismanagement. That is not okay. That is another form of violence. We are asking to co-manage through a 638 process. We need more examples, but we don't have to do it. We cannot do it. My sister came up with a make-up Indian word called Skabidi Hoo. She said that means half A. We can't do that kind of work. We have to have the best organizing, the best plans, the best coming together to accomplish that and be successful in the management of these sites. Everyone here is a treaty signer. Everyone in Congress is a treaty signer. We have to pass that word and make them accountable that they signed those treaties as a citizen of this nation, and it has to be enforced. What has that caused that is to give them plenary power in the court called Lone Wolf versus Hitchhike.
tribe said, stop, you're taking 500,000 of my land. They went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled against them, and that's where we got plenary power, which means that Congress has absolute, undisputed power over me standing here and my grandchildren, and that frightens me. For that reason, I will never be quiet. That little 3-year-old over there, we need thousands of those little 3-year-olds that are going to do this and do the work for the next 50 years. We need to have those grandparents encouraging them, telling them that we need them. My uncle, Vine Deloria, in his The Red Prophet, he said that no legislation should go through that building over there without the explicit participation of our people. Constantly, people will make laws about us, for us, on us, under us, even when we're dead, that have never been asked of us whether that helps or hinders us. Most of us hinders it. So we have to go over to that house and become involved and support the tribal relative, our matrilineal leader, Haaland, because she's not going to be able to do all those things that we're asking her of. So that leaves it to us on the ground and the front line. We don't need to always get arrested. You know, we could get in good trouble, like that congressman said, but we need you out of jail. We need you on the ground. We need you in the court. We don't want to go to court either, but we need you at the water. One of my granddaughters, when we did this water ceremony, when our precious relatives came from the Lummi Nation, she went down to the water and she said, came back and she was crying. I said, my girl, what's the matter? She said, Kunshi, which means grandmother. She said, I asked the water for help, and the water said, granddaughter, I can't help you anymore. You have to help me. So that's the message you need to take back to the sacred water, and that it is our turn now. The prayers are not they're going to make it powerful, but we have to do some work. It has to be in the state houses of where we live, even though those houses are not friendly to us. And lastly, I think that we have to unlearn behaviors of closed systems, divide and conquer, and oppressive behavior that we have inherited, and it's called colonial abuse. We must not compete with each other in these things, because I saw it in KXL. This is not about competition. This is about survival in our grandchildren's grandchildren's grandchildren. I wish I had the time to sing our mini Wichoni song, but it's going to be in my heart. I'm going to sing it when I go back to the water. When the Lummies came for their Indian visit, usually when you come for an Indian visit, you stay 3 weeks. So next time, 3 weeks. Thank you for coming. Wo pita. Mitakiasi. Sing it. Can I sing it? Okay, if I sing it, you got to close your eyes. You got to speak to the water. All of the plants that are being threatened, the endangered species, close your eyes and send that spirit strong to your homelands where those sacred sites are listening. Maniki de wichoni, maniki de wichoni, maniki de wichoni, kia, unizanik de ohe, maniki de pejuta kide, maniki de pejuta kide, maniki de pejuta kide, kia, unizanik de ohe, maniki de wichoi chage, maniki de wichoi chage, maniki de wichoi chage, kia, unizanik de ohe, maniki de wichozani, maniki we chozani, maniki de we chozani, kia, unizanik de ohe,
Niki de we chosen de he. Mitaku yoasi. Our sacred sites live forever. Oha, wopira.
Good afternoon. My name is Davis Philford. I come from the Navajo Nation. I'm here representing the Navajo Nation on behalf of the Navajo Nation President Honorable Jonathan. As I work as one of his staff assistants. I'm also here representing the board members on the Bear Ears Coalition. I do have a position statement from the Navajo Nation that's supported by many resolutions and our own legislation. Bear Ears should be restored. The Bear Ears has been in the works for 4 decades. It's been worked on by the Navajo Nation, the Ute Nation, the Zuni Nation, and the Uinta Arrays. President Trump attacked our Bears Ears, and we have many litigations from many different tribes. And we want our current president, President Biden, we call him Joe Ba. If you know what Joe Ba means, a person with a kind heart. It just so happened that President Biden, his name sounds Joe Ba. We're asking Mr. President or Biden to restore the 1.9 million acres. The importance of the Bear Ears, our ancestors have lived there for generations, gathering herbs, and they prayed. And this was their way of life and their culture. Our ancestors. Today, we were there for 3 nights the other night and we got rained out. It's a beautiful place. I come from a contaminant world, the greater Anath field in the Anath, Utah. I am a true Utah, and our soil, our water, and our air is completely contaminated with petroleum, arsenic, uranium, and many others. And we don't want this sacred land. We have many sacred land in the nation. People know as the 4 sacred mountain. We have many sacred mountain. Bear Ears is one of them. We call it Shashja. I can give you stories, but those stories are only told when reptiles, even bears, are hibernating. We only tell them during the winter. These are cultural sensitivity. We have the Yebiches. That's where their stories, their songs, their prayers, it all comes from there. So we're asking not only the former Secretary of Interior, but the current Secretary of Interior to please support. And we're just waiting patiently to hear from our president. And I know that I'm echoing what the coalition has been saying. And one of our leader that's here today, again, thank you. And my remarks are very brief and to the point. And protect Bears Ears. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Jingunji, Shaliknai, Shoji, Bernadette Dementifoji, Kuchaja Kutsan Eathly. Good afternoon, my relatives. My name is Bernadette Dementive, and I am from Fort Yukon, Alaska, which is 8 miles above the Arctic Circle. I want to recognize that we are on the ancestral homelands of the Piscataway people. It's truly an honor to be here alongside all of you, protecting sacred lands. Today, we have 3 generations of Gwich'in to show our support and solidarity to the Lummi Nation and the many tribes across the country. Everybody knows our sacred land as the Arctic Refuge, Arctic National Anwar, but to the Gwich'in people, it's called Ajikwatsan Gondai the sacred place where life begins. We carry a piece of the caribou in our heart, and a piece of our heart lies within the caribou. For thousands of years, we migrated alongside them. They are the foundation of our songs, stories, and dances. Right now, we are under attack by the fossil fuel industry, but we have an administration that can protect our human rights as Indigenous people. We need Congress to act, and we need Congress to act now. Show the world that we matter, that our ways of life matter, and that the First Nations of this country will be respected. We honor Madam Secretary Deb Haaland for her commitment to review and take her position seriously and for putting people before profit. We must always remind her that we have her back, and we must stay strong in prayer for the protections of our land, for our water, our animals, our people, and our ways of life, which is interconnected. We are stronger together. We belong together, and together we will prevail. We must do this work in a good way, but we must also remember to stand strong in who we are, and remember we come from some of the strongest people that ever walked this planet. We carry the blood of our ancestors. Be proud of who we are. On behalf of the Gwich'in Nation, Masit Cho.
Anotko Yate Kwano Yagi. My name is Woody Lee, my Christian name. That is a new sound that was given to me when I was taken to the boarding school. My mom called me Shiyaja, my little one, my baby. So there is a difference. There's two different people that how I was raised at a boarding school. So with that, everyone here, and I see that there's a lot of people here, a lot of languages that are being spoken. That is very heart lifting. You see you go to Walmart and you see our little Navajo kids, little Indian kids, speak nothing but English. They do not know the language. That is very sad and hardening. And so with that, I hear a lot of our native tongue being spoken here this afternoon. So that is thank you. And then with that, we are today our answers to our ancestors' prayers, knowing where they came from and knowing where we are today, as we have a leader that came up here as one of our nation's top leaders. So with that, we have strength in our prayers, not only in our prayers that we have changed to our votes. Our votes have lifted up all of our leadership within our own area, with our own people, with demonstrating and talking to the issues of our land. And so with that, I do recognize and thank you, the Lummi Nation, for recognizing Utah Denebekeya and its efforts to restore Bears Ears. And today, a couple of years ago, you have delivered one that you have donated to the Utah Denebekeya. And we thank you for recognizing us and standing with us and here forward. So we thank you, and we would like to somehow, in some way, return the favor. With that, at the same time of here, what we have today, we as natives and every culture here on the nation, within the country, we are told from high school, even through schools, that this is the melting pot of the world. I don't think so. We should not be a melting pot to where this carving what here is just be one blended color. We would like to be as colorful as it is we are today as individuals and how we identify ourselves and our identity. So with that, my people and everyone here, that Mr. Biden recognize us and help us redo this again and to restore Bears Ears. It is not only for us that lives in the area, but everybody that goes into the area, and it's for all of us, not for Indigenous people, not only for Indigenous people, but for all of us, to know that within our younger generations that is a place of healing, to where this country has gone through a whole bunch of travesties, a whole bunch of stuff that happened that has not been very humanly. This is the place where we can all go to heal and move forward with that. And Miss Madam Secretary, it is good that you are here today with us, and it is good that you are our leader as well. So with that, all of our the way we think and the way we talk and the way we want in our native lands. And so with that, I truly am grateful that we are here today expressing who we are, where we are coming from, and where we're going. With that, ahiha.
Okay, from the land of the Piikani, we wanted to thank the Lummi, the Hawaiians. You know, Sally Jewell in 2016 as Secretary of Interior helped us stave off oil and gas exploration in our sacred Badger 2 medicine. We have John Murray, who is our historical preservation officer, worked diligently for the last 45 years to protect that area. That's what we're still here about doing. Don Gray's with us, legal, Dion Killsback, Melissa Weatherwax, Marvin Weatherwax Council, also a state representative, and Rodney Jarvis Jr., a fine councilman from the Piikani. So when the secretary came and spoke, it reminded me of Eloise Cabell, one of our members, whose Yellowbird woman that fought and got the United States to pay for rape and pillage of our lands. That happened. There's a satellite orbiting this earth with her name on it. Eloise Cabell, Yellowbird woman that fought for this land, for our people. All of us, we're connected, we're one, we're together. God made us together to come here today, to be here, to acknowledge us sacred sites all over this world where we come from. We're together, we're going to continue to be together, we're going to fight, we won't give up. We talk about the last trail here 50 years ago, occupying Deb Haaland's office down there, nonviolent. And what happened from that? The act for self-determination came about. Look back 20 years ago when those planes crashed into the World Trade Center. They were going to hit this capital. 1860, when the Civil War broke out, that monument was stopped being built. One of my grandpas fought in that war. His son fought for America even though he couldn't right to vote. That mall over here for that museum, First of Peoples, the last museum on this mall, government didn't pay for it. Our people paid for that. Our sweat and our blood, our sacred honor. And then what happened on the 6th? You know, if that was us, what would have happened? Anyway, we need to continue doing what we're doing, fighting for who we are, what we are, where we come from, and where we're going. We're going to get there. We have to do it together, or else we'll hang separately, like old Lincoln said. Anyway, we need to continue to strengthen ourselves, keep our governments going, and we're just thankful that this administration is recognizing us as who we are, the first people. What we would like to do, lastly, our tribe was responsible for two parks in the United States. We were starving when we negotiated the rocks up in Glacier Park. We received no revenue from that. But we had to do that because our people were starving. Buffalo were gone. We had to do something. So we got a little bit of money. We built water canals. Now that water's flowing east. And he said water's not for sale. But yet, 1913, our chief was out here talking about that. 1903, fighting off allotments because we didn't believe when you put up a fence, that's yours, this is mine. God give it to us to protect it, and we did a dang good job of it until these oil extractors came in here and started. Remember in 1973 EPA, the water that was on fire in Ohio, that they protect that. Now we're asking them to protect it again for us here in 2021. We need that protection. Look at what happened to us in a boarding dorm. Two of my grandfathers graduated from Carlisle. The older one right there, the eagle, his name was Pitonista, eagle calf. First graduate from there at Carlisle. Learned surveying. He actually was the guy surveyed on the park boundary in 1895. Didn't know him. And his son, like I said, or his son-in-law was the one that come out of Carlisle as well. So I went there with my daughter and my wife, and she showed me a picture of when people burned these sacred totem poles. Very, very disheartening for me to see that, how our people were pillaged and raped and ran over by, what do they call them, the Supremes? But they weren't. You know, God put us here first for a purpose, and we protected this place for the enjoyment of all. And we continue to do that. We share. We're generous as Indian people. 3 weeks over there in Standing Rock, all that stuff would happen. We sent water down there during their siege of the trying to stop them exploration and sending that oil through polluting the lands. Well, anyway, we just want to thank everybody that came out
and look forward to working with Secretary Haaland, the Congress. We got a lot of work to do, and it can be done. We'll do it together. We're not going to be violent. We're going to be peaceful, but we're going to make it happen. We have to. We can't give up. We've been here too long to give up. Our people wouldn't allow that. So as I think of my ancestors that fought for this country, we continue to fight. How about the first woman that died in that conflict, Lori Pistoa, in 2000 there when we had that initial war, Hopi Indian. We also had a first woman in the Marine Corps in 1940, but she could drive a Jeep, she's a sharpshooter, so, contribute to my mother, my grandmothers, all the women out there that carry that sacred light for us and where we get our nurturing from. We were appreciative of what you do for us, men that stand there with you, behind you, for you, by you. We're together, we're one. The Creator put us here for a purpose. That purpose was to serve and protect like we do. So God bless America, God bless the natives, and God bless all people. We're together, we're one. We have to stick it together to make it better. God bless.
Hinomankima, Tataykam, Kitu, Tatay. Good afternoon. My name is Julia Bernal. I am from the nations of Sandia, Pueblo, and Yuchi. I am a descendant of the Trail of Tears, and we are the descendants of 1680 Pueblo Revolt, People's Revolution against white supremacy, imperialism, expansion, land grabs, water grabs. We're still here, like our Auntie Deb said, and we're still here fighting to protect our cultural landscapes. We are Pueblo Action Alliance, and we have been collectively and actively working to protect Chaco Canyon and the greater Chaco region. It's a region that holds the ancestral history of our Pueblo people and remains a place of centricity for all of Indigenous peoples in the Southwest. It has lineage to Bears Ears, to Mesa Verde, and our existing communities today. But for the last 100 years, it has been a central place for resource extraction and sacrifice that have been supported by the federal government. This cultural landscape not only carries ancestral and traditional ecological knowledge, but it is the homelands of our Dene relatives who are directly impacted by the historical and current infrastructure to progress oil and gas operations. This region has been plagued with coal mining, uranium mining, and other resource extraction, and we stand against any development that destroys our lands, our waters, our people, and our culture. The carbon, the methane, the VOCs, and unknown toxic emissions are emitted in this region, causing generational harm and health impacts to the communities. The trucks and the presence of oil gas workers are threatening the livelihood of those neighboring the fracking wells, resulting in missing and murdered Indigenous. The produced water spills are contaminating the aquifers and is quickly encroaching on sacred places like Chaco Canyon. The Biden administration must address the federal fossil fuel leasing program, which has perpetuated adverse health impacts. The land and water are contaminated, and the federal mandate that the government has to Indigenous people for meaningful consultation, meaningful collaboration has been ignored. So we demand consent. The administration must stop the erasure of our Indigenous worldview by undermining our inherent sovereignty. The Pueblo nations have been actively advocating for our leadership to be at the table when it comes to managing cultural resources on our sacred cultural landscapes. So we must address the federal fossil fuel leasing program, invest in cleaning up the legacy of extractive industries, and not put dollars towards false solutions for climate mitigation. You must also endorse free, prior, and informed consent and co-management strategies so that Indigenous people have the jurisdictional authority over their lands. And you must continue to listen to the young people and think of us when you're making important decisions. We want to thank the House of Tears from the Lummi Nation and the organizers of this journey who have helped carry this medicine here today and help build that nation-to-nation unity as we Indigenous people, we are the solutions for healthy lands, healthy waters, and healthy communities. And we stand here before you representing ourselves as Pueblo people, that we are still here and we are guests on this territory, and we are guests to our Earth Mother, and we must continue to protect her and our water mothers as well. Herkem, thank you.
OCO Nagata. Hello, everyone. My name is Joel West Williams, and I'm a senior staff attorney with the Native American Rights Fund. And NARF was so proud and so privileged to help support this journey of this beautiful carving here to Washington, D.C., and to stand with tribes across the United States calling for the protection of sacred sites. NARF is a nonprofit law firm, and we've worked for more than 50 years on a number of issues, but the protection of sacred sites has been at the core of our work. And in fact, a lot of the spots where this journey stopped along the way are places where we've represented tribes and litigated cases on these issues. And one of the things that is a really troubling common theme throughout all these cases is the lack of tribal consultation. And the remedy for that is for the United States to fulfill the promise in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and to come up with a consultation mechanism and implement that mechanism that stands on the principle of free, prior, and informed consent. That's the way that they must engage with tribal nations on these issues. So we will continue to work for that, and we know that all of you will as well. And I want to thank you all for being here, for the work, for those that gave us the blessing of this carving and made the journey here today. So thank you so much, and know that as you continue to work, that the Native American Rights Fund will be standing with you and supporting you as well. Thank you.
Halito, Chatasia, Muskogee. I'm Tammy Tiger. I am a citizen of Choctaw Nation and descendant of Muskogee Nation of Oklahoma. But I come here today from my home in Las Vegas, Nevada, the ancestral lands of the Southern Paiute, where I work as a community organizer with the Las Vegas Indian Center. I was given permission to share the message on behalf of the people of the Red Mountain who are working to protect the sacred site Pihimuhu from a proposed lithium mine at Thacker Pass in northern Nevada. Pihimuhu is translated to rotten moon. It is the name the Paiute and Shoshone gave this site after the massacre of their loved ones over 200 years ago, leaving them in the shape of a crescent moon. The people of Red Mountain have been working tirelessly to protect Thacker Pass from excavation of sacred remains of their ancestors and have organized a camp at the site that you all are invited to join. The permit issued for this mine was rushed through without proper consultation and consent from the tribal nations in this area. If the lithium mine proceeds as planned, a massive open pit will be constructed on a site that is culturally and significantly culturally and historically significant to the Paiute, Shoshone, and Washoe people who continue to hunt, gather, and perform ceremonies on these lands. If allowed, the mining activities will import 700,000 tons of sulfur to process the lithium, with hundreds of trucks running on fossil fuels. Hard rock mining is the single largest source of water pollution in the United States. This contamination will destroy the wildlife and habitat of this area, many species that are endemic to Nevada. There must be balance with the environment as we move to a greener economy. The lithium from this mine is destined for green vehicles, electric vehicles. But mining is not clean energy. We must continue to explore scientific solutions that will not leave a toxic legacy for future generations. Please stand with me in solidarity with the Indigenous people of Nevada and join the camp at Pihimuhu to protect Thacker Pass. Yakoke.
Let this be my truth to the world, to my people, for my ancestors, and for my family and my future, my grandchildren. Listen to the songs of the journey, the voices within the stories. Feel the exhaustion of the travelers and experience the prayers and the gifts from the people and our Creator. The women of Bears Ears send their prayers, blessings from each and every one of their hearts. We are the mothers, the daughters, the sisters, the granddaughters. We are the child bearers. We are the knowledge keepers. We are the keepers of our homes and our communities. We are connected to Mother Earth when our umbilicals are placed in very sacred places within her. Through the act of rematriation, we return to our origins and our life of cultural values, customs of our elders and ancestors, restoring our societies within our communities in all sacred directions of our lives. Caring and nurturing our indigenous cultures, value systems within the family and within our world. President Biden, Vice President, Secretary Haaland, and other leaders of the nation and communities, please understand and receive the restoration of our traditional knowledge and protection of our Mother Earth and all that is within her. Yes, I speak of her as family because she is. I am her and she is I. From the dirt roads of our reservations and sacred journey of the Red Road, we find ourselves walking on the concrete and on the marble floors, carrying prayers and the voices from the past, present, and more importantly, the future. When times are overwhelming and challenging, look upon the totem and reflect upon the journey, songs, voices of the women and lives along the way. Consider lending time and attention and energy in allowing for all to embrace you as a human being. The voices of our grandmothers,
our resistance. They are our resilience as well. Oh, it carried us. The songs, the dances, the prayers. To find ourselves all together here in this one sacred space and time. Homeland, a people who deserve the right to be recognized, who deserve the right to be celebrated. So give yourself a whoop and holler, the biggest clap, and let the world know we're here celebrated. Do it. Letting the world know we are still here. We pray for our children. We pray that they will live with confidence and gratitude. I thank each and every one of you for joining me. I apologize to all my elders. Forgive me for speaking out of term. Forgive me for a young person. But I really want to encourage those young ladies out there. All the young people, your voice is important. Your place will be here. When I was 17 years old, I rode a horse down Independence on the 4th of July. When I was 18 years old, the late Senator Daniel Inouye spoke to me and said, and I didn't believe it when I was that young, you will be a leader. You will return to these streets and your voice will be heard. In 2015, I found myself lobbying President Obama, fighting against the delegation and being challenged by the laws and the tools and the decisions that have been made in the best interest of us without true and meaningful consultation. Where is the justice in that? When we rise loud, we rise proud. When we put our feet down, we put it upon our Mother Earth. When we fall, she catches us. She is who we protect. Thank you.
My name is Julian Matthews. I'm from the Nimipu or Nez Perce tribe and World Tribal member, and I'm not representing the tribal government or nothing. We have a nonprofit. We started Nimipu. That means the people in our language, Nimipu Temp. Nimipu, protecting the environment. And I wanted to be so grateful and for Freddie and his group from the Lummi tribe to bring we're the first stop on this journey at the Snake River. And like this sign says, the Nez Perce, we have a treaty with the federal government, 1855 treaty with the Nez Perce, this is called. You can look it up online or whatever. And what that entails is that we ceded 11 million acres to the federal government. We didn't give it away or give away our rights. We retained the rights to hunt, fish, and gather our traditional foods and medicine hunt. And so now we're fighting to, we have 4 dams on the lower Snake River waterway that runs up to the Lochsaw Selway and some of our the headwaters and our traditional lands up on the Selway, Lochsaw River and other places along the salmon. And so our big fight now is to get the 4 lower Snake River dams breached or removed because the salmon runs are going to go extinct. And I guess one thing I would like to say personally is we actually, when we first started, our own tribal government wouldn't come out in support of dam breaching, but now they did, and they got a bunch of other tribes, the Columbia River tribes, coming out. So that's really great. I guess what I'm getting at is a lot of times I don't feel the government is going to solve our problems. You know, I can't expect Secretary Haaland or Joe Biden to come and step in and push some magic wand. It takes our efforts, and that's why we always work with the grassroots. We do with our kids, our Nez Perce kids, and my thinking behind that is sometimes when we sweat, traditional sweat with my bros and my cousins in Lapway, one always talks about the treaty, you know, the treaty rights we have, and those signers in 1855 were protecting, for me today, 100 some years later, to be able to hunt, fish, and gather just like they did. And so that's what I think of when I work with our kids at the tribe, is that when I am gone, I told them 30 years from now I could be gone, but I don't want them to say, what was Julian doing when those salmon were going extinct? what was your generation doing? And I don't want to be the one to say, well, we weren't doing anything. So this is our big fight out. We're out by the Snake River runs, Washington, Eastern Washington, and Idaho. And we have a lot of information, a lot of groups helping us to bring. All we want is to be able to take salmon from that river like we did, like my grandfather did, like my great grandfather did. And I don't want to be the one that loses it. So I told them that I'm going to fight for this Snake River Dam removal. We're going to do what we got to do and push whoever we got to push. Thanks.
It's a good day to be Indigenous. Hamanat. Hamanat. Hamanat Netawan, Alan Salazar, Huchuk Yayak, Pasekfa, Chogoyanga Tapu. Hello, I'm Alan Salazar, fast runner. I'll be racing after anyone wants to challenge me here. I'm from the village of Pasekfa, where I was born, where the San Fernando Mission is. From the Tataviam village of Chogoyanga, where Magic Mountain is built. Tapu, the Shumash village, where Simi Valley and the Ronald Reagan Library is. My sacred sites are in Southern California. Every mission in California is a site. Not because of the mission, because every mission in California has a mass burial. And before I die, and if I live to be 140, I'm only middle-aged right now. Before I die, I want the missions to acknowledge all those people. The San Fernando Mission, where my ancestors are buried in a mass burial. There's a small plaque that says 2,487 neophytes are buried in this area. At the Ventura Mission, where I live, there's a parking lot, over 3,000 indigenous people that died at the Buenaventura Mission. Every mission in California has a mass burial. Those are sacred sites, and we want the church to acknowledge those people. They have lists and names of all those people. Let's acknowledge those people built that mission for you. They built that church for you. They took care of those grounds for you. As a Shumash, somehow my family wound up in Bakersfield. And all those jokes that Johnny Carson said about Bakersfield, they're true. And in 1995, I left Bakersfield and moved to Ventura, where my Shumash ancestors from. And that's how I met Freddie and the Lummi people. The Shumash, the Tongva Gabriel, we are ocean people. We build ocean canoes. And being a person of the ocean, a Shumash, who are great fishermen, when I first moved to Ventura, I thought I should go fishing at least once. And I was sure I would catch a large fish, but I'm an urban Indian, so I didn't want to get my feet wet. So I went right up to the shore with my toes, right to the shore. This was the winter of 1995. It's a big year for our tribal history. I caught a fish. I caught a fish that far from the shore. It was about that big. We didn't have enough humor today. I know everyone's traditional. I want everyone to take their clothes off. No. I'm going to regret letting me have 2 minutes. But I do want to finish on a serious note. I'm on the Elders Council of the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians. And we are a federally non-recognized tribe. And the importance of me coming today was to give a gift to Secretary Haaland, because my Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians is under review by the Bureau of Indian Affairs right now. And for the last 3 years, they've been going through our petition and nitpicking over this and nitpicking over that. The Chumash, the Taviam, the Tongva have lived in Southern California for tens of thousands of years. I ask all of you pray, and no one knows who we are. When I say I'm Fernandinho Tataviam, even in the native community, they go, who in the hell is that? I go, well, we're a real small tribe from San Fernando, from Santa Clarita Valley. So please, so I can hear it once. Fernandinho Tataviam. Let me hear it. Fernandinho Tataviam. Fernandinho Tataviam. Fernandinho Tataviam. Hear us. Fernandinho Tataviam. Power of the people.
Hello, everyone. My name is Becca Konomopoulos. I'm the director of the Natural History Museum, a traveling museum formed in 2014 that leverages the power of history, monuments, museums, and movements to support social, environmental, and climate justice. We are proud to be one of the organizers and sponsors of the Red Road to DC. Why are we here? We're in the midst of the 6th mass extinction. Species are dying off every minute. The impacts of the climate emergency grow by the day with wildfires, floods, droughts, and heat waves. All of these are symptoms of a way of relating to the land based on extraction, enclosure, ownership, and control. Of seeing the world as made up of resources to extract, classify, commodify, and sell off to the highest bidder. This way of relating is not indigenous to this continent. It was introduced through colonization, by the gun, by disease, through violence and forced assimilation. But there is another way of relating to the land, and despite efforts by colonizers and corporations to forcibly extinguish it, it persists. It thrives. It is represented here today in this crowd and with the Native nations and indigenous communities the world over who are leading movements to protect water and land and sacred places from dams, mining, oil and gas drilling, and destructive industrial development. And now, in this time of reckoning with American history, with structural racism, as monuments to colonialism are toppling, and our society is grappling with the question of what takes their place, which histories and values do we choose to carry forward? We see this totem as a different kind of monument, one that reminds us of the promises made to the first peoples of these lands and waters, one that shows us a way of relating to history, to the land, and to each other that we must all get behind. It is the only path forward in the context of the climate and extinction emergencies. And so we say thank you to the House of Tears Carvers, to Lummi Nation, to all the tribal nations and indigenous groups represented here. Thank you for your work, for your sacrifices that you make. Know that we stand with you. We honor the treaties. We honor your moral and inherent right to steward these lands, to decide your sovereignty and your leadership on behalf of the generations past, present, and future of humans, non-humans, the water, and the land. Thank you.
Poso, ona quit.
Nitakam, Wapitotam, Kashitna Nitskiwakian, Wawana Nitskes Maoni Natanaway Makanake. My name is Guy Ryder. My real name is Onaquit, and it means well, people say it cloudy skies, but this old sacred medicine man told me it meant very handsome and good looking. So I'm gonna go with that. Uh, I come from Wisconsin. I'm the executive director of an organization called Mini, which roughly translates to the organizations that's building a healthy community. And I come from the great Menominee Nation. I wanted to just bring a little bit, let people know that I was told once that, you know, a camera adds 10 pounds, and I see at least about 8 cameras, so I just want everybody to know that. But I haven't seen so many Indigenous people. I thought I was at Walmart for a minute. Oh, come up. They'll sing that sacred Walmart song later, maybe. I don't know. But I wanted to just say that we are at home fighting a sulfide mine by the name of the Back 40 mine. And we've been fighting it for about to build that mine on our beautiful Menominee River, which is the river that separates Upper Michigan and Wisconsin. And more importantly, our oral history states that that's where we come from as a people. We're the longest inhabitants of Wisconsin. But I would stand here and thank all the Lummi carvers, all the organizations that have put this together. Thank my brothers for running security here, for all my sisters and brothers that are doing all the registering and things. I definitely want to recognize them. If we could give them all a hand. Oh. And all those beautiful speakers that came before me. I'm truly humbled to be able to be here. And I'm always in constant thought of thinking about our beautiful relatives that line this mall, those beautiful trees here. They're so important to us. You know, this grass that we're sitting on, our beautiful mother. I just for a second want you to feel her underneath your feet. Let her know we're still here. Let her know that we're going to stand up for her, that we're going to do what we can as Indigenous people, and we're not going to go nowhere. We make sure we let that building behind us know that we're always going to be here and we're not going nowhere. Oh. So in closing, I just want to say again, thanks to Native Organizers Alliance for putting this together, Illuminative. I'm very appreciative. And I'm going to pass this mic to my brother here, and he'll finish up with speakers. Yo.
Nautsiam, Slailton, Watatlam, Sunisnat. Good afternoon. My name is Jay Julius. I am president of Cecila, one of the organizations who helped work with House of Tears Carvers. It's an honor to be here. It's a privilege to be here before you to share a few words, to say Haishka, thank you in our language. To our elders, Haishka, thank you for all your work. It's on my heart to acknowledge Deb Haaland. I was there in 2019 when she got elected, 18 maybe. And I want to acknowledge NCAI President Fawn Sharp. Fawn Sharp, a great mother. She's got an incredible son, culturally rich. And all the grandmothers here. Deb Haaland, Secretary of Interior. That's what Cecila means in our language. All of our grandmother. And who is our ultimate mother? Who is our ultimate giver of life? Whether you're Indigenous from this land, everybody's Indigenous from somewhere. And when the newcomers arrived here, what is interesting is they saw nothing but opportunity to develop, and said there was nothing here. But those of us who lived here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we had everything, everything. But tala, money was not our culture. It was being one with. So with Cecila, with the organizations here, what this totem pole represents, maybe Endangered Peoples Act, Endangered Species Act can stop development, can stop drilling, possibly an Endangered Peoples Act, an Endangered Cultures Act. What are some solutions that we can come forward with as we move forward into the future? Because the direction that we've gone and what has gotten us here today is not going to work for Fawn's children, for my children, for our future generations. Catastrophic disruption has taken place, and we are responsible for those youth that are here that are facing climate anxiety that our generation can't even begin to feel. We have to step up. And Fawn, thank you so much for your strong words, for your strong leadership as a representative for 574 tribes. Thank you to each and every one of you. Let's invite everybody back to being one with what they call nature now. We are still one with. We still feel the pain when the orcas die, when the salmon go extinct, when the rivers are now lakes because they're dammed. Everything's got a spirit. Let's invite everyone back to being one with nature. That's what's going to take us to a future that our children can look back and say, thank you. Thank you for becoming one with. Haishka, for being here. Thank you for your support. OCM.
Now it's Siam, Nishalacha Siam. So hila konesanat tacho, tikaya Siam and Nishalacha. So Caleb, it's my Indian name. It's true, my heart is glad to be here with each and every one of you. Before I speak, I would like to yield to Uncle Kimokeo from the great Hawaiian people. You know, the Hawaiian people are battling to protect their sacred site. And Uncle Kimokeo and Anela came and joined our Totem Journey May 24th. I remember the date because we were heading down the West Coast from Hollywood Beach to Hollywood, California. And so I asked this time, I'd like to yield a few moments. As you could see, they say there's a thunderstorm coming, but you see the Hawaiians have brought the sun out. ACM.
E koma kui kalani wana ia kono. E mahalo ia loko mai kai olo lopo mai kai. E mahalo ke akua e no hopo mai kai. E no James Joel. No Doug Jules. E na mo opuna no Caden Jules. Mahalo io e na amakua. Mahalo io e na kapuna o kai. E ya mama e uanoa. E lele bali akula. O tanite po o tie. Te atua o tawai. We pray every day upon the God Kani, Waiolo Kani, water of life. Today is the most important commodity to everyone. We ask him to protect all the water rights that's been given to everyone. O tu te po o tie, te atua o te tawa. Ku, stand tall, strong. Kupono, know who we are, what we're doing, and where we're going with our families. Oro no te po o tie, te atua o ta, o hana mai ai. Lono, the harvest of the God, providing the food of life. We need the water. We need to be protected. So Lono can continue to grow the food of life, the sacred food. Our kupuna. Say, Helemai no kahale. Welcome to my house. Helemai no kamea ai. The sacred food that we grow and we serve our people to the next journey. Helemai no ka inu kawai. The water of life. It is important, really important that we know we have one commodity, and that commodity belongs to all of us, the sacred waters. O tanaro te po o tie, te atua o te tai. We are ocean people. We ask Kanaloa to take us out to our with our va'a kaulua, like the sailing canoe with the Polynesian Voyaging Society, Hokolea, going around the planet, serving all indigenous people about their land, their water rights, and their sacred sites. We, the Kanu people, go nowhere unless we have the Mauna. Mauna Kea need to be protected. Mauna Haleakala. They are the base of all the goddesses and gods to land. And we have that mountain bring the water of life from the heaven to the Mauna, and the Mauna to the forest, to the farmland, and out to the ocean. Hawaiian, we have species out in the ocean, like the honu, the turtle. It eats upon limo ele, a green seaweed, knowing that there's fresh water in the ocean. Back of that is the water in the land. We thank everyone here this day, a very historical day. We thank James Jewell, Dogs Jewell, and their family, their grandson, Caden Jewell, in carving this totem pole to remind us we are one people, one nation, one cause, water, land, and sacred rights. Mahalo. We bless this totem pole and thanking each and every one of you. This water I have in my hand comes from our second congressional person in Congress, Prince Kuiu, brought here by our Representative Kai Kahele, our congressional staff, Senator Schatz, Senator Maisie Hirono, Representative Case. They too have a responsibility to the Biden administration. And knowing that, we have Deb Haaland, Secretary Interior, spoke today. And we're very thankful to the congressional administration of Biden, protecting the land, water, and sacred sites of all nations out throughout the world. Not only United States of America, every place needs to be protected. Aloha, unconditional love, respect, care, and share. Napo'e kalani, the people that have been look upon us, and saying that now you are responsible to take care of heaven and pass it on to the generations to come. Napo'e kamawana, the people of the ocean, care for them. They give it to you. Care for it as they have done and pass it on to the generation. Napo'e konua, the people of the land, responsible for the land. Oivikako, kupa aina, pula pula away. We have the blood of our ancestors. We have the bone. And we have the flesh, each and every one of us. We are responsible for the heavens, the ocean, and the land. Responsible for the land, the water, and sacred sites. Mekealopa, with the greatest love of all, the indigenous nation throughout the Hunua, the earth. We are one people. Mahalo, aloha, mekealoha pumiana, with the greatest love of all.
e ka imo tu kamaki e lohe lohe. O ka hana na ia ki o hula hula a ia kari a hoko hatu. Me he kupina tua hui kuani ani kau fuoni ola ni mola e a vea e tu ai ala ai ai e mai kono o na mo kue mai e a e a o mai ka hui kama ka hui Kuihia pāpio a iwalo I te alo. Kuihia e ka iko. O ka hunana ia ki o hula hula. Aia kāri a koko atu. Me hukuna tua hui kuani ani. A umoni ola mi mola. Te awea I tu ai ālaia. Nā I hawa pepe. I ka honua o tō. Hallelujah. Aku kau ya kalau. Right tonight,
At this time, as you can see, our relatives bring the sun out again. My Indian name, Salkadip. My government name's Frederick Lane. I would like to, I guess I'm a closer. I'd first like to start and honor our Clackamas people. Lummi is the reservation. Lummi is the reservation. We are the Clackamas people. And so I just wanted to share that. I wear this with honor and protection from our late beloved chief, in honor of our chief Salip, in honor of Auntie Fran, who made this. And before I begin, I would like to take this moment to pay respect to those of you who've lost a loved one, to those of you that are surviving cancer, to those of you, maybe your heart's hurt, maybe you're sad, maybe you cried on our shoulder during this journey. Maybe you feel like you're not heard or respected or loved. But I just want to take this moment in honor of Telewios, Uncle City Hilaire, back at home, who passed away today. And I'd just like to take this moment of silence to remember all those that died at boarding schools, all those that died in their concentration camps on their reservations, all those who died fighting the good war, fighting to protect their men, their children, their chiefs and elders. I would like to take this moment of silence, if you would, please. I'd like to call up our chairman of the Great Clackamas Nation, Siataluk. If you'd please open us with our national anthem, Shesheshwakwolek. We are the survivors of the Great Flood. ACM. It's with loving honor, respect, you can take your seats, that we come here today before you. I have a prepared speech. It's okay, you can laugh. Let's see what kind of crowd, the Indian crowd we got. Okay, on this side, I want you to say, A, ready, 1, 2, 3. Really? That's all you got? Okay, now this side, ready? Come on, outdo them. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now this side, one more time. And then this side, one more time. Hey. That's how you know you got Indians in the crowd, when you hear, hey. I just first and foremost want to thank the ancestors and our Creator, whoever you believe in, God, by any other name. In our beliefs, all of our tribes, we call the Creator. The Creator brought us here today. 22,000 miles later, we still have to drive back home. But when we go home, we're going to remember each and every one of you, from the youngest to the oldest. Each and every one of your prayers, your good thoughts, your good words. I'd like to thank all the speakers that spoke before me. I learned over the last 20 years, the House of Tears and Uncle Sitki Kadam, 2002 after 9/11. You might remember the healing pole and the honor pole and the freedom and liberty pole. That was the vision of the House of Tears Carvers at Lummi Nation. We're so humbled to be here, to finally bring the ancestor here. The beloved, over 400 years old. There was a lady just a few stops ago. I believe we were at Chaco Canyon. And she told me about when she put her hand on the pole. And she said she's seen and felt all those missing and murdered Indigenous children of the boarding schools and the residential schools. She said that what you guys are doing is right in bringing the attention of the atrocities of the American Holocaust. Hitler in World War II, if you know your history, based the concentration camps on the American reservation system. I'm thankful each of you paid tribute to those ancestors whose blood runs through your vein today because our ancestors knew that we were coming. Let's give the ancestors a round of applause, please. The invisible ones standing all the way around us, all across this great nation we call home. But democracy is at stake. Right behind me, if you know or seen up close, I watch Ancient Aliens, so they talk about these things. Do your research on the lady that stands at the top of this sacred site. Do your research on what she's based off. The feathers that come down on the top, right up there. Why is it a woman? You should know this because the women are the life givers of this earth. The woman up there stands as a symbol, as a representation of what democracy is. By our relatives just north of here, if you know your American history. American history begins with an Indian, and it has to change. I graduated from Hawaiian Indian School. It's the oldest continuously operating boarding school in the country. And I have to say, I'm proud because Chamawa saved my life. Chamawa allowed me to sit with Siatalak leading the people. And even though I didn't win my re-election this last Halloween, it didn't stop me from being a community leader. It didn't stop me from talking and fulfilling the dream with Teresa, Sheldon here, Tulalip Tribes. We're just a cornerstone. Each of you are a stone in what we're building. We're building back our resilience. We're building back our languages. You can't say you don't understand when things come forward. Languages coming back. You see our customs coming back. You see our relatives weaving and regalia like in times. Your ancestors are proud of you. Your ancestors are standing behind you. You have to recognize and love their sacrifice because they knew that this day in the 21st year of the 21st century, that this would happen to Indian country, to bless us with our strong women warriors like President Fawn Sharp of NCAI, like our strong women warriors all across the nation. They say behind every great man, great chief, is a very powerful woman. In ancient times, our Clackamas people, the women held the power. The women, the men would drop a tree in ancient times, delimit. And it was the women in our stories, in our oral tradition. And the women would line up, young and old, great grandmothers, aunties, sisters, nieces. They lined up on each side of the tree when it was dropped. And the women sang their song. And after the fourth verse, this is what my auntie Mary Plaster told me. She told me to never forget it, how powerful our Clackamas women were. And after the fourth verse on that song, the women would put their hands above the tree, the sacrifice, and the power of our women would levitate and lift the tree. And the tree, they would walk the tree down to the village where they would construct the canoe. So these are just that's just a glimpse of this great time that we're all in. I can't go without thanking the James brothers, Uncle Doug and Sidki or Sasiat, Jewel James. I have to thank Judith LeBlanc of Organizers Alliance, friends at the Natural History Museum. I want to thank all those that helped us get this far. And to remember that Uncle Emerson, thank you. Thank you. I want to thank Karina Lopez right here, Rachel and her mom, Suzanne. Karina's on the San Leandro City Council, took care of us, kept us for 4 days in the Bay Area. Rachel and Suzanne Anderson helping us bring awareness to our whale that's incarcerated. All of you wonderful and beautiful people that have come here to help honor and respect and remember. Remember, somebody loves you. Remember that you're here and it's you're a sacred being. I know it's tough talk, you know. Some of the communities that we went into, suicide was out of control. And as a two-spirited man and a survivor, it's important to take these moments to let you know that we love you, we honor you, we respect you. I'd just like to conclude by saying that your democracy is at stake. And this sacred house was desecrated on 1/6/21 in our lifetime. Remember, you have the power. You have the voice. You can be a congressman. You could be a senator. You can run for your public office. You're a grandma. Do you think we're doing this for us in our generation? We're the first generation to recognize global climate change, and we're the last generation that does something about it. Do something about it. Speak up. Bridge your communities. And remember that all of us, all of our relations, each of you are family. Each of you have a reason and a purpose. And to live it, if you say you're sovereign, live it, breathe it, exercise it. In my words to Secretary Haaland, we love you. We're going to continue to help you, to care for you, to bring reason, and to bring some solutions to hopefully make the future better for each and every one of you. On September 1st, if you're moved, we haven't had canoe journey in a couple years, but September 1st through the 5th, we'll invite you over. It's just going to be an encampment, but the canoes will come in on September 1st. So if you do come to Lummi, look me up and we'll take care of you in a good way. Haisko Siam and Ashalacha. Nobody told you they loved you today. Well, we love you from Lummi Nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. There is food and snacks still in the tents. Please take it with you. Travel safely. Good night.